Alright, so I wanted to do this because I've seen a lot of people having troubles with 215 switching recently, and it wasn't because their switches were inherently bad in terms of mouse movement, their mouse movement were good, but instead they had the issue of not knowing what they're supposed to do. So in this video, I just want to explain how 250 switches work, and to help you with this, I'm going to use Anvil. So Anvil provides you with this FPS, visual FPS learner, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, basically, if we just drop down and we can see it, so we have 333, big as always, but keep in mind that when you're using 333, you only really gain speed depending on the, or like close to the edge, you know? So you only really gain close to the edge, especially on higher speeds. But everything that sounds here is true. So what is happening with 250, right? So if we go after bounce, this is Mosaic speedrun secret way, and we are on the first bounce of that, which is a huge 250. So as you can see, we have the 250 as it is, and then we have a yellow line with no FPS on it. So the yellow line with no FPS on it, that is the transfer angle. And the main goal on 250 switching, although nobody can really do it efficiently and perfectly yet, is to never ever touch these yellow parts, because these are the transfer angles. What the transfer angles do is they direct your speed, basically. So when you hit a transfer angle, you're guiding your momentum to go to that way. So if I hit this transfer angle, and then I will go more forward that way. And where the transfer angle is useful is either if you want to do a 2-1 switch like this, 2-1-3-1 bounce, etc. Or if you want to do a 2-3-2, you want to go through it and then you can do 3-2, because every switch in CodJumper is going to be the same no matter what, right? Like the turning on mouse movement is always around 45 degrees, no matter what, when you do a straight switch in this game. So what about 250s, right? Because there's a lot of people that don't understand this. And 250s is basically time, because if I switch early, right, after one switch, the issue that I get on the other switch is that I almost have no room left for my 250 to gain speed. So if I go like here, right, I bounce and I switch immediately. And then I switch here, right? Then I switch immediately back. I have no speed to gain on this WA, right? And that makes sense, because you have already wasted the amount of speed you can gain on the WA on the previous one. So you need to hold the WD again until you stop gaining speed. And you kind of need to learn a timing and memorize it in your head, right? In order to use the entire 250 as much as possible, but never ever hit the transfer angle. Now, if you do hit the transfer angle for a little bit, like this, not the end of the world, for sure. Like, this is recoverable, especially at higher speeds. It is recoverable. But you want to do it as less as possible. And now you may ask, how do I know I hit the transfer angle? I can't really see the angles like you can here, right? So we're gonna go to like 1200 speed, and then we're gonna strafe, and then we're gonna hit the transfer angle. So look, you see that? You see how my speed went from going up by the tens of units, because these are units we're talking about. So it was going up really fast, like 10 units at a time, and then it slowed down to only like 2 to 3 units at a time. You're gonna see it again, like really fast, and now we hit transfer angle and we're going really slow. This is how you will know you're on the transfer angle. So if you're like strafing and you see your 250 barely gaining any speed while you're moving after the switch, this is because you have hit the transfer angle. You need to switch immediately, right? And yeah, what people usually do is they switch too early and then they keep it like this. So they barely have, like on the W, as you saw that, I barely had any space to use my WA anymore. And this is why they think 250 is hard, because this leaves them with a very, very small amount of margin for error, because they have pretty much used the entire angle already. So, what I am trying to get to you here is that you shouldn't just spam straight switches when using 250. You should try to use the entire of your angle, right? And this is how you're gonna excel at doing this. It's actually not that bad once you learn it. Like, yeah, obviously I'm failing the bounce, it's a hard fucking bounce, but I am hitting the switches. See, now I'm on the transfer angle. It's an overstrafe. That's why we get no speed. Like, these human mistakes are fine. The point I want to get to you here is that the timing that you switch from W to WD is important. And that you should never, like, hold your WD or WA too little before switching. And if you hit the transfer angle, you should hold the next strafe a bit more to make sure that you're back on track. Because if you ever hit the transfer angle, you basically have a lot of time to use. And what about 232s? Well, 232s, if we do the same thing and we don't hit the transfer angle and we tie it to 232, your 333 will gain around 30 speed as you saw here. But if we hit the transfer angle and we do the same thing, my 333 now gains almost 100 extra speed. And this is important because on 333, this FPS is so overpowered, you want to use it as much as possible when doing bounces. So, if your angle is correct to where you're going, and you can use the 232 tag, because obviously, as I said before, crossing this angle means that I'm guiding my speed to go that way. So if I want to go that way, if I want my speed to go a bit more left, then I can use 232 here. It's not the case for this bounce, but you know, you can imagine like on another bounce that you could want this. This is kind of the theory behind every distance bounce ever. So, yeah. Just use the 250 switches to your advantage with the timings. When you realize this, you will never even need Anvil or an FPS roulette to know what you're doing. You don't need it anymore. Like, you see that? I never hit a transfer angle even once. This was all just like throw switches and like very small amount of miss switches, essentially. Like mouse flicking too bad, I guess, I don't know. It's 5 AM, cut me some slack. Oh, I used 500. But yeah, you see, like, when you do realize this trick, and you just, like, the amount of people that I see that can straight switch very well, but they are just not aware of what they need to do, is crazy. Here on the WD, for example, I switched too early on the WD. And that's why, when I switched, I hit the transfer angle immediately, you know? Because not only is this like the trick you have to keep in mind, you also have to keep in mind that the higher your speed will go, the lower, the higher the margin, no, the lower the available angle you have to use is actually. Because the higher speed you will go, the closer to the edge of the 250 angle you have to switch in order to gain speed again. Like if we had the bot, for example, that would only slide straight to the middle of the 250 angle, we would stop getting speed around this switch right here. We wouldn't be able to get speed again from our switches. We would need to switch and then strafe a bit. Because the curve speed needs to go further to the edge of the 200 angle. Otherwise, we cannot gain any more speed. See, again, here I didn't hold that WA long enough, so when I did the WD, I hit the transfer angle. This is the mistake that we make when we're doing 250 switches. We do not actually fail the flick itself, we fail the timing. The flick remained the same. I did the same exact flick as I did every other time, but I failed the timing that I did the flick on. I should have done it later, because if I did it later, I would move my mouse more to the left, closer to the edge of the 1 to 50 angle, so I had more available space to me after switching on the other 250 angle, making the margin for error a lot bigger. You can like fail the switch a bit more if you get what I'm saying. So this is how you 250 switch. This is the whole idea behind it. It's not that complicated, it just needs practice. And there is no like your style of 250 kind of thing. There is only a correct 250 and an incorrect 250. I'm sure a lot of people have seen Alter Ego and other people tray switch in this manner, where they go like this and they flick constantly. This does not work. This is not good. For two reasons. First of all, you see this downtime message right there? This downtime message is the amount of time that passed from me flicking from one place to the other. So all these add up to around 2000 ms. Obviously the last three switches, let's ignore them. 1000 ms. This is basically a second where I cannot gain any amounts of speed. A second where speed is not gained. So you want to keep your stray switches as minimal as possible, people. So extend your 250 switches. Just keep strafing. And when you reach the edge of the angle, when you feel like you're reaching the edge of the angle, switch. And try to do it quickly. Usually on a warmed up day, on a good day, the downtime of my switches will be around 17 ms. Right now I failed the switch, so it went up to 660. But you can see, it can be quite hard. And this is why Heartbeat also excels, because switching from one position to the other is a lot less downtime. So, that is all for that. I hope you learned something new here, and I'm gonna make more of these in the future, so don't worry. But yes, this is one thing that I wanted to get out of the way, because I feel like it's really important. It's like the bread and butter of CodJumper. Thanks for watching.